everybody. Good morning, afternoon. Yeah, almost afternoon to all of you today. I have a lot that I want to bring to you guys today. It came from a post that I saw that I absolutely agree with, but that terrifies me that I saw out there for you parents of adoptive children. The quote was, I took a seminar once where the trainer told us that compliments often trigger shame in people who have experienced developmental trauma because compliments are discordant with our internal self, causing us to feel as though we have committed deceit. Right, so let me say that to you again. It was kind of like a meme that was on Facebook. It said, I took a seminar once where the trainer told us that compliments often trigger shame in people who have experienced developmental trauma because compliments are discordant with our internal self, causing us to feel as though we have committed deceit. Guys, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the way in which our children who have been trauma exposed due to their life prior to adoption, sometimes post-adoption as well, right? Anyway, in any event, the way that they struggle to receive compliments. Why is it that they struggle to receive these compliments? And then as parents, what do we do about it, right? My big concern in seeing something posted like this in a very general setting for adoptive parents is that it's going to discourage you from giving compliments to your children. And that is not what we want to do. But at the same time, there is a right way and a wrong way in which our trauma-exposed children are going to be able to receive that. So those of you that don't know me, my name is Brooke Fremouw. I am an adoptive mom to 11 amazing children, and I help adoptive parents to calm the chaos in their hearts and in their homes. And so I like to bring these to you on a regular basis. I also do offer 45-minute consultations to just go through like what's going on in your house with your adoptive children. So if you're interested in that, check that out on my Facebook page. There's a link there for you. And with that, let's get started, okay? This is a heavy, meaty topic, so I want to jump right into it. Now, the first thing I'm going to ask of you, trying to choose here. Okay, the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is to just trust me with these 3 statements, okay? I don't have time to go in and tell you why these are true. I just need you to trust that they are true. And on another post, another video, I will go into this deeper so that you guys understand where it comes from. But there are 3 limiting beliefs that most trauma-exposed adopted children carry with them. That run kind of as a tape underneath all their other thoughts and feelings. And those 3 things are, I am weak, I am shameful, and I must hide. That fight or flight, I must hide. Now, assuming that those are true, can we dive into our topic today, okay? I know that you're like, what? I have to assume those 3 things that I don't want to believe about my child are true? Can you just do it for a moment? Just embrace those so that as we go through this topic, it's going to make more sense to you when it comes to the complimenting, okay? So stick with me. I know that I'm asking for a big leap there, but I do promise you I will come back to that on a video tomorrow, okay? So what this statement, I took a seminar once where the trainer told us that compliments often trigger shame in people who have experienced developmental trauma because compliments are discordant with our internal self, causing us to feel as though we have committed deceit. Okay, what they're referring to there is actually called imposter syndrome. Have you guys heard of that? Imposter syndrome, to define that, it's basically when people doubt themselves and they feel exposed for being a fraud. So for example, if your child looks in the mirror and sees themselves as ugly, but every day, despite the fact that their friends call them ugly, they look in the mirror and they feel ugly. They look in magazines and they see what society says is beautiful. Every single day you tell your child that she's beautiful, she just feels like she's committed fraud with you. Like you just don't see the truth. Like you're throwing something at me that's not even almost true. And now I don't feel like I can give you credit for the compliments that you do give me, right? Because it feels discordant. It doesn't feel like her own reality. Another example, if your child brings home D's and F's and you tell your child you're so smart, you're so capable, like you're an amazing intellect. But her grades say something otherwise, and all the kids in school tease her because she's stupid. She's gonna feel like, wow, my mom, my dad, they don't understand me, right? That is not in alignment with who I am. Now, I use two really extreme examples because as parents, we don't usually do that, right? Like there's a basis for our compliments. But can you see how if the child's perception is that they have evidence that goes against your compliment, that they no longer credit that compliment, they either feel like you're a liar or they're a fraud. They either were really good at masquerading to where you believe something about them that they don't believe, or you just don't know truth and you're a liar. Either way, it's not productive and it's not healthy for your child, right? So let's use a real life example. Again, going back to those three basic principles, that your child believes that they are weak, they are shameful, and that they must hide. If those three assumptions are true, you know that your child's self-image is very low. They don't see themselves as productive. They don't see themselves as something to be proud of. They don't see themselves as beautiful and capable and competent, right? And they carry themselves in this world trying to make it work. And then you come up and tell your child, wow, sweetheart, you are such an amazing blessing in my life. Is that compliment 100% sincere and true? It is. They are amazing. They are a blessing. But how does your child recognize that? What does your child say? If your child believes that they are weak, shameful, unsuccessful, nothing to be proud of, that they should hide, that they'd be better off hidden in a corner, if that's what they believe and you're telling them, wow, sweetheart, you are so amazing and such a blessing in my life, they're like, wow, I have pulled one over on my mom. She doesn't even know me. She can't even recognize me for my true self, right? And that's where this statement comes from. It's imposter syndrome. That meme comes from this, right? But please, parents, don't mishear that meme. It scares me that what happens is parents don't want to make their child feel more inferior by complimenting them, that now they have something else to be ashamed of because now they see themselves as a fraud. And therefore, I'm just not going to compliment my child anymore. We can't be that. We can't do that. So what are the characteristics of imposter syndrome? Self-doubt, fear that you're not going to live up to expectations. I know with some of my kids, what that looks like is they just simply won't even start to try. It's better not to try than to fail or to feel like a failure. Attributing success to external factors. When you say, sweetheart, look, you did such a good job on your science test. Yeah, well, my teacher, she modified it for me, and she basically gave me all the answers on the study guide and went over it with me like 5 times. And so, right, they're attributing the success to everything out there instead of attributing it to their hard work self. That by not studying, then I'm not as smart as everybody seems to think that I am. So by not studying, I have been able to show them my true self. So they sabotage their own success. Berating their own performance, putting themselves down. Here's one that's going to surprise you. Overachieving. The kid that is so afraid to be found out as an imposter that they literally study until 2 o'clock in the morning. Study, so that they're going to ace it so that you don't find out that they're a fraud. That actually is also a part of imposter syndrome. And setting very challenging goals and then feeling very disappointed when they fall short, right? They set that perfectionism, stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then their life is over because they weren't able to meet that expectation. So those are some characteristics of imposter syndrome. What causes it? Here are the things that can cause it. Undeserved praise. You heard that. Undeserved praise. The concept of giving everybody an MVP trophy on a team when not everybody is an MVP. It affirms to them that they aren't being recognized for their authentic efforts and their authentic self. No praise at all. So kids trying, working hard, and never ever feeling like they've made a difference, like anybody sees them and sees their efforts and their accomplishments. A lack of entitlement. So this is, you don't deserve this because fill in the blank. You don't deserve to go to the zoo with us today because you didn't do a good job cleaning your room. You don't know how to clean. You're not good at it, and therefore, right? Or family labels. You're the smart one. You're the sensitive one. You're the funny one. You're the crybaby. When we give broad labels to children, they feel like they aren't being seen for their authentic self, okay? In the case of our children, oftentimes trauma is the primary cause of this. It's not, those are very functional reasons. If you're like, I can't take compliments and I wasn't raised in a abusive home, I wasn't adopted. These are a lot of the reasons, right? The undeserved praise, no praise, lack of entitlement, family labels. Those are reasons that would resonate with you. But in the case of your trauma-exposed children, it literally is they had no control over their circumstances. Their parents didn't change in order to be able to keep them. Their parents didn't treat them as though they had value. And now they're coming into your home where they just don't feel good enough. They don't. I had my daughter, not just one of them, several of my adopted children came into my world and said, I will never be good enough for this family. And I'm thinking, oh, honey, you have the wrong impression about what kind of family you came into. We are not as perfect as you're thinking, sweetie, right? But compared to where they came from, it looks like the Brady Bunch. It looks like Disneyland. And they're like, I am not capable of pulling off this fraud of being this amazing kid who can fit into this. Isn't that heartbreaking? It's absolutely heartbreaking because you know the value of your children. You see the true value of them. They just can't see it in themselves, right? So for them, it comes from a very deeply rooted place, which is why they have those 3 false beliefs that run as a tape underneath them. Again, those 3 false beliefs: I am weak, I am shameful, and I must hide. So what can we do? What can we do for these children? If complimenting them makes them feel like a fraud, not complimenting them doesn't acknowledge the efforts that they're making, how do we win as parents? How do we support them? How do we get them through this, right? And that's a part of what I work with my families on. I work with the parents on how to communicate that. I work with the kids on being able to start to recognize their own efforts and what happens, because the cause and effect are not very closely connected for them. They are for you and I, but they're not for them. And so they have a really hard time seeing the ways that they can create their results, the way that they impact the world that's around them. So how do we do it? We have to teach our children to embrace praise objectively, right? To actually be able to objectify it and look at it and say, is this true? Why would this be true? And why would the person say that about me, right? And then it actually acknowledges the tasks at hand that created the compliment, right? And then it shows, I did this, this created that. Stop the word vomit. We have to get our kids to stop justifying successes in their life, right? That's that over-explaining. Well, if my teacher didn't modify my test, if my teacher didn't give me all the answers on a study guide, if the teacher didn't go over the study guide 5 times with me, well, then I would have failed. So it's all of these external things that created my success. I didn't create my own success. We have to stop that. We have to be able to say, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I want you to acknowledge some truth here, right? And speak truth back in to their effort, because the reality is it doesn't matter if the teacher gave them a study guide. If you don't study the material, if you don't work hard to understand the material, you're not going to ace the test. You and I both know that. So we have to help our children to see that reality, right? And then removing luck from our descriptive verbs. Get rid of it. There is no luck in our vocabulary anymore, right? Luck doesn't dictate our circumstances. Luck isn't the thing that they can attribute their successes, their beauty, their cute outfit, their good social relationships, their positive connection with their siblings, the way that they achieve their chores. It isn't because of luck. It is because of their efforts. It is because of the way that they carry themselves. And again, it is not something that we can just teach them overnight and they suddenly just have this internal embrace for what it is that we're doing. This is a long haul process of getting them to reframe the way that they see themselves, right? We talked before, as parents, we need to build a bridge all the way to them so that all they have to do is step onto it. we also have to teach them how to hold up a brand new frame in which they see the world around them. I know this topic was a lot. I know that we covered a lot of material in a very fast-paced, short amount of time, so I'd love to talk with you individually. If your child has a hard time with compliments, constantly deflects them, justifies them, gets awkward and shameful around them, it is something that we can work on. And it's important to work on it because ultimately what it means is that they don't see themselves the way that they should. Thank you for hanging with me today. I hope that this has encouraged you to still continue to compliment your trauma exposed to children, to compliment them over things that are objectifiable, and to work on the messages that we send to our kids. If you would like to talk any further about this or about any of the chaos that's inside your adoptive home, please reach out to me. Also, I do have a brand new webinar that I've put onto my website at thetraumamama.com. It's a free 25-minute webinar, and I'd love for you to check it out. And I will see you guys here again soon. Thanks so much for hanging with me. Bye.